Greetings fellow Temtem tamers, I'm Desseus and today we are looking at the status conditions within Temtem, what they are, what they do and what can be done about them. But first, let's just go over some general information on status conditions collectively. Status conditions are applied via techniques or traits. There is a total of 14 unique conditions. A Temtem may only be affected by 2 status conditions at the same time. An attempt to add a third will result in the third condition replacing the first condition, and attempting to reapply the same condition over and over again will just be ignored. It has to count down and run off first before it can be reapplied. They cannot be removed by swapping Temtem, and may persist when you exit combat, and their duration is not fixed but varies based on the technique applying the status condition. So what are these 14 status conditions, I hear you ask? Let's take a look. The first 2 come more as a pair, and they are cold and frozen, both of which appear in-game as snowflakes of different colours, with frozen being a lightish grey and cold being a blue snowflake. A Temtem is only frozen when cold has been applied twice. Frozen renders the Temtem unable to attack but may still rest like before. Applying the burnt status condition removes both cold and frozen from Temtem, and to remove cold and frozen any other way will require the heater item. Speaking of burnt, let us cover that status condition next. It appears as a small flame icon in game. Burnt Temtem lose 1/16 of their health a turn and reduces attack and special attack by 30%. Fire Temtem are immune to getting burnt, as is any Temtem holding the gear pan sunscreen. Just like how burnt removes cold and frozen can also remove burnt from Temtem. Moving on to the poison status condition, which appears as the same look and design as the toxic type icon, only in purple. Poison Temtem lose 1/8 of their health a turn. Toxic Temtem are immune to being poisoned, and the poison condition can be cured with an antidote. Onwards to the asleep status condition, which appears as 2 yellow Z's or Z's as its icon. Asleep ensures affected Temtem cannot attack so long as the condition persists. However, any damage will wake up the Temtem unless the attacking Temtem has the soft touch trait. Mental type Temtem are immune to falling asleep because they are too big brain or suffer from insomnia. Other Temtem can hold on to the energy drink gear, which will help them prevent themselves from falling asleep, whilst all other Temtem will need to be roused from their slumber with an awakener. Next up is the doomed status condition.
Our universe is doomed! Doomed!
The doomed status condition is represented with a skull icon. How doomed works is that it has a countdown, and when it reaches 0, the affected Temtem faint. Yes, I'm not even kidding with this. Doom a Temtem and it will be done within a few turns. Regardless of its health, it will faint. You have to use a revive to bring back Temtem that have been fainted this way, just like any other, or have a Temtem rocking the talisman gear item, which helps prevent them from being doomed in the first place. Not all status conditions are bad, however, like this next one coming up, depending on the situation. The immune status condition, which appears as a blue shield with a stylized swirl in the middle of it. This status condition acts exactly as the way you are imagining it right now. Your Temtem become immune from receiving new status conditions. So whilst you avoid all the harmful conditions, you also can miss out on some of the more positive ones as well. Moving on to one of my favourites since I started playing Temtem, the exhausted status condition, which is represented as a downwards pointing arrow with a similar swirl or marking to the immune icon. Exhausted increases the stamina cost of techniques by 50%. Whilst there is no item or gear to cure or prevent this, being vigorized does remove the exhausted condition. And since it was just mentioned, vigorized is the exact opposite to exhausted. It is represented in-game with an upwards pointing blue arrow with the same marking or swirl, and its effect reduces the cost of stamina on techniques by 50% as opposed to increasing them. However, just like Exhausted, Vigorize can be replaced if Exhausted is applied to a Temtem after Vigorized is. Coming up next is the Regenerated status condition, that is shown in-game as a small green leaf. Regenerated will heal your Temtem for 1/10 of their health every turn it is up. Trapped is the next status condition. It appears in-game as a brown net icon, and it simply forces a Temtem to stay and not be swapped out for the duration of the condition. Onwards now to the Seized status condition, which prevents Temtem from benefiting from their gear's effect. Seized is represented in-game with a lightish red lock and keyhole. Following up is the Neutralized status condition, which is shown in-game to be that of a swirl of energy coloured white with a black background and outline to it. Neutralized makes the resistances and weaknesses of the affected Temtem be ignored for the duration of the condition. And finally, we have the Exiled status condition, which may or may not be in Temtem yet as of the making of this video. I have not yet come across it, the wiki says it's not in yet, but it is subject to change, so I think it's worth mentioning in case they decide to add it in at a later date. Exile Temtem no longer benefit from synergies for certain techniques. That means those techniques that can get a benefit from being partnered up with like a nature Temtem will now have to use their base stats for that technique, attack, rather than getting the benefits. And with that is all the status conditions of Temtem covered. Hopefully this video has helped you to better understand status conditions in general, as well as provided you with insight on how to better handle them or make use of them in combat. Maybe even perhaps you have a new favourite condition that you prefer over all the rest. If so, let me know in the comments below. Please remember to like, subscribe, ring the bell and all that good YouTube jazz, and I will see you all on the Airborne Archipelago. Take care guys.